I believe the SMB, small to mid-sized business, and the MSP, managed service providers that support them, will surpass enterprise security capabilities in the next 5 years.
Wow.
Okay, let that ruminate.
Guys, Damien Stevens, host of MSP Mindset, and I'm super excited to be live at PAX 8 Beyond 2025 with the illustrious Matt Lee.
Oh man, it's great to see you, brother. It's great to see you.
So good to be here with you. So Matt, tell us about, I'm going to get into all kinds of fun stuff, but just tell us, for the few folks that don't know who you are, your role here.
Yeah, sure. I'm the only unfortunate idiot that in 2019 didn't step backwards when my colleagues were asking who wants to be the director of security for this organization. So at least that's the origin story. Quickly thereafter, I was the also only idiot to have bought a company called Voldemort that cost us about $3 million in economic impact by being ransomed by Sodinokibi, or our evil ransomware gang, 3 times in a row, and all of their clients 3 times in a row. And so
it's hard to top that.
It's hard, right? But it's what drives me. It's what gives me my passion. It's what allows me to do that. And so why am I here? It's because PAX 8 is willing to invest in that as a resource in our community that doesn't have a sales role, that just goes out and works to build standards and elevate our capabilities. And so I'm blessed to be doing that here. I'm running 7 sessions that I have chosen and hand-selected people to be in those sessions that aren't vendors, that are thought leaders in their own right. I have Chris Roberts coming, former hacker that formerly hacked a airplane mid-flight to show that he could. Phyllis Lee, former NSA officer for 25 years that runs the CIS, Center for Internet Security. So I'm here herding wonderful cats is what I'm doing.
Yeah, no doubt. I love the t-shirt and jacket movement.
Oh, bro, that's my jam, right? Like, there's a number of reasons. Like, I don't wear collars, and t-shirts that are black, do a great job with my fat belly, and then the jacket just frames it nicely. You know what I mean?
It's a good setup.
I got to get behind this setup, and you rock it, man. It's awesome. Because I can know that's Damien in there, even if I don't see the whole logo. You know what I mean? Right. I know exactly what's there.
That's right, yeah. It's this is a tech event, right?
Yeah,
even if you're speaking on stage, wherever, it's like we're still tech.
Yeah, I got on tennis shoes that are custom made, right? Yeah.
I love this.
Yeah.
The colors are really cool.
Thank you.
Hey guys, Damien here. As I continue to interview the top MSPs in the world, one thing has become incredibly clear. It's time that we let go. Even more than that, every time I focus on my zone of genius and get out of the way and do the very few things I'm good at and delegate to others, I'm ready for that next level of growth. So if you're ready for that next level of growth, one way that I could help you is with Servosity. We co-manage your backups and disaster recovery so you can focus on what you do best, let us do the rest, and then what we do is we test the backups every single day so you never have to worry. If you'd like to learn more, click the link below. So I want to unpack this because I think a lot of people think about security and think this is something I got to do, I guess, especially as an MSP. Or they think this is a great way to make money by selling compliance. And we were talking kind of backstage about security versus compliance. Yeah. I've always thought those is different, but it's surprised me how many people see those as the same.
Here's what I'd say. When you think about what is security, there's not many other things, and really in history we've done it all the time, that live forever without some kind of safety or consumer safety in mind. If you think about the invention of the automobile, that was 1897, and it wasn't until 1950 that we had a single patent for a security or a safety device. It was that long.
Wow.
We changed the whole landscape of cities during that time, right? You went from living on a farm to living in an industrialized city, being born and dying where you're a mile from where you were born, and to now living in the suburbs and driving cars and a car in every garage and a chicken in every pot, right? So you went to that level. And then long term, in 1965 and 1966, we finally started regulating that with NISTA being formed and putting all this. But what I'm getting at is that security is, when I get in my car, I have a relatively degree of safety in mind, that the things I will do, unless they're just stupid, probably won't injure or kill me. There's safety systems, there's crumple zones in cars, there's airbags, there's all the things. So that said, we invented all of this tech in the same way, but at a much faster rate, right? At a much faster rate, like iterations and iterations to where my toothbrush connects to my internet now, right? And those kind of things happen all that fast. But security's only started really being discussed, especially in the SMB space, especially now, at this X juncture, right? In the last 10 years for our world. And so the point I'm trying to make is we are playing catch up, and MSPs that feel they are not wanting to be in security or deal with security or all those things are really just saying, I don't want to have to deal with the progression of everything over time that always moves towards consumer safety and a predictable, reliable capitalism that we all love, right, and adore. And so I think there's a conversation, though, of what is compliance. Well, as those auto manufacturers were required to have airbags and crumple zones and all of these things, they were also meant to be compliant to those requirements. That's what compliance is. We have a set of standards we are agreeing to contractually, regulatorily, right, or other means of influence, and then we have to show that we've done that we've reasonably done that. That's all compliance is, right? And so to your point, maybe, and I think it's a very nuanced one, is compliance and security are two halves of the same coin, but they don't always mean the same thing. Like, I could say I'm really compliant to having a bad security policy, and I would still die, right? If I said we need to have cars have spikes in their dashes so that when you hit it, it'll kill you quicker, and then I'm compliant to that, it didn't make me more safe, right? And so some of these can be some of the challenges. So I want to pick that and say, think about an example of a healthcare organization that 3 or so years ago was in a compromise, right? They reported to HHS or whatever governing body they had to manage to, and then things moved on. Back to this security compliance, and compliance is now tied to reasonableness, which is what Phyllis Lee unpacked today in our opening talk in the security track. I need to now say, as an MSP, have you been selling compliant things? What if we look back 3 years ago?
What do you mean by that?
Yeah.
Because that's easy to hear, but I'm like, I don't know. Like, I got the, M365, government edition.
Sure, I got the thing. I'm in the GCC highs.
I'm in GCC high. Like, doesn't that check the box right there?
Yeah.
I think it's really easy to think that way.
Sure,
so help me understand that.
So let's go further. Like, let's say we're talking about EDR, and let's just say that one of your security controls said that you would have EDR on all assets. And now we fast forward 3 years later. This breached HIPAA entity, right, covered entity. 3 years later, they're getting what's called there's a civil cyber fraud initiative going on. Started in 2021. The Department of Justice said, I'm going to start suing people under a 1863 law called the False Claims Act. It's lovingly known as Lincoln's Law. And they're applying this law saying if you've ever taken a contract from the government and you've lied about what you've said or misrepresented what you've delivered, then you are subject to every dollar that you've been paid. Not the profit, but that you've been paid. Adding to that, it has what's called a qui tam component. Qui tam is a shortened version of a Latin phrase, qui tam pro deo, but it basically means he who sues for the king also for himself. And it means that as a whistleblower, I get to keep 30% of what the United States government sues this company for.
Wow.
So now as this HIPAA entity, you have been sued under the Civil Cyber Fraud Initiative, under the Medicare, Medicaid, ostensibly mostly Medicare for the federal aspect. And they're saying, please show me that you had EDR on all of your assets. I'll just ask you this, Damien, how many MSPs do you think would be able to produce those documents from 3 years ago for their customer?
Virtually none.
No, almost none.
Right.
And how many of them do you think were prescient enough to say, hey, customer, you're going to need to keep these in a file because you've told the government that you're doing these things based on your compliance of this program that you set up, and you need to do that because I'm not doing it in a shared responsibility matrix. What do you think that number is?
Yeah, even less.
Yeah, so my point is that there is this growing want to sell compliance where I'm going to go measure stuff.
Yeah.
You might be measuring your own death, right? Because you might be measuring the fact that you can't prove these things. And I'm giving a bit of a hyperbolous example of this, but it's played out to the tune of $2.9 billion last year. There were 400 and something qui tam lawsuits filed in the United States, which is more than ever in the history of the United States.
Wow.
And so you're starting to see this, like, what does the future look like for MSPs? You said it well. They don't necessarily have like this understanding of the growing challenges of what they have to fix that our forefathers caused problems in, right? The origin of us delivering IT support was, I want to make something beautiful. I want to make an amazing sandcastle. I want to make it wonderful. So, and we're now going, people are kicking these things down? What?
Right.
And it's a problem. So that's that side. But then to add to that, anybody that is under compliances that has said they'll do something in a contract or in regulations or in things in that nature are starting to find that people are calling them to carpet and ask if they've been doing it, not just this future facing, but have you done it? Anyways.
Yeah, that brings up a whole set of questions I'd love to get into at some point. I want to get your take on AI because I know there's a lot of people adopting it. There's a lot of hype. There's a lot of reality. But it seems like in cybersecurity, sometimes it's just the bad thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So tell me your take.
We as cybersecurity professionals have the luxury of talking about the problems and benefits of it. We don't have the luxury of stopping it.
Yeah. I'm glad you're aware and that you're saying that so everybody can hear it, right?
It's going to keep growing.
It's going to happen.
Technology be technology. That's
right.
life. We as humans have, in my opinion, I do a talk on this, we have this understanding that we're going to die. Like, I think you pretty well know you will end in this current phase.
That's right.
And so when you think about that, I would rather have air conditioning today and let my kids deal with holes in the ozone layer, right? And that's just the way our brain works. It's this do it now, take advantage of it now, get the things we want out of it now, and we'll secure it later.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about that from an AI perspective. You have one component where we are going to give people more clock cycles. If I only have this many cycles a day, I now have 15 times those or 1,000 times those.
Yeah.
When that happened in the Industrial Revolution, we went from 13 kids on a farm to 2, and everybody moved to the city.
Yeah.
And they did new things like jar pickles and other things, right? And so you get into this thing where like that creates this force. And I think humans are two things universally. And I'm paraphrasing this from a TED Talk. But I'll say we are universally greedy. We always want more. Just as a species, we always want more. It's a protectionism aspect. But additional to that, we're always like infinitely ingenious on how to continue being that. Right?
Yes.
Humans are amazing at coming up with cool new ideas, running a podcast and growing people talking about this. Like, these are just amazing. So AI is going to give us those clock cycles. But if you think about it in more tactical terms, right now, AI is really good at assistive coding, right? It's really good at it. Now, people would fight me on that conversation, and they're probably right in their own right. But it makes me faster at creating, iterating, and fixing. What if now we have these mountains of tech debt that we've created? And now we have the ability to put clock cycles that we found, these 10 or 15x clock cycles, to fixing that.
Yeah.
Doesn't that raise the bar? Doesn't that rapidly, as you have this maturing consuming entity, raise the bar in that, right? Like, that's what it does. By asking everybody to do that and see this kind of happen, it goes along with this theory I have called the middle theory. And it's just a restatement of capitalism in a way to say products don't ever rise much above or fall very much below the maturity of their consuming entity. If people aren't very mature, I can sell them something immature and I make profit. Why would I make something more that costs me more? It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
And so you're seeing that. The general consumer and the MSPs that are here today are way, way, way more mature than they were 3 years ago and are demanding more of these vendors. Now you finally have a way for them to fix it. Yeah. When the person that's probably going to take them down could start the code tomorrow and be done in a week when it took them 7 years to get there.
Yeah.
So you have this kind of weird usurpment that's playing out there. That's the good side.
Yeah.
We can do cool stuff and fix things.
Right.
Along with that, you also have this API centrism.
But I want to jump in. I want you to say what you're going to say, but
yeah.
I want to jump in. And it's also we could.
What's that?
We could devote those clock cycles.
We could
to fixing tech debt.
That's my man that understands business. That's your jam, right?
Like I hope we do, but we could
put in 12 new feature requests and make money.
That's right.
So you have that trade-off, right?
That's right.
I think the ones that'll survive will be the ones that realize they have this mountain of tech debt and fix it as part of their normal growth cycle and choice. My opinion, of course, doesn't make it right. And I'll also say, adding to that, the AI that we're using, and this might be the beginnings to my negative side, an API is always the same API.
Yeah.
With a different secret and a different GUID or a different client identifier. It's the same script. It does the same things, which means if I can get really good at coding and really good at very API-centric worlds, I can get really good at a desired state outcome for every client, where I make a mistake and it's systemic, or I make a win and it's systemic, and I win. And so what that means is we have like better defense capabilities, I think, because of those rounded things I just talked about. But on this side over here is my talk I'm doing at Wild West Hackin' Fest in October, which is, maybe it's October, I don't know, Kat has the schedule, but is called Giving Swords to Our AI Overlords.
Yeah.
And it's this understanding of MCPs. MCPs are the ability to expose your LLM. Gosh, we use a lot of acronyms in our world. I'm so sorry. Your large language model with a MCP server that allows you to manage stuff through API. It helps it understand that API in the way you want it to and the outcomes you want to have happen. But that also in my talk says we're giving it access while it's still hallucinating. We don't have any security controls. We don't have any like predictive controls on outcomes over here on the other side of the MCP server. And we're just going to give it access to our AWS accounts and our Boston Robotics dog with a machine gun on its back. I've seen Terminator. It doesn't go well, right? And so,
And to add to that, maybe you're using the official one, but maybe I found it on GitHub.
There's so many of those examples. We could get tactical about how many ways people are going to die, but I think the point is that they will die. and that we'll learn, and that we'll move forward,
Yeah.
and that we'll fix things. That's kind of the end of my talk, is like, this is what the world needs as a wake up, is this extensibility and the speed we're going to create with it. But it'll also be part of the solve. So it is kind of a balance of this, right? Like if I can create new faster than meat layer capabilities that do things in an intelligent way, I can do better at finding the security problems and being better at it. If you add into it that most of the things that kill you are the basics, at least before AI and some of the things you can do here.
Yeah.
But the basics are the basics. And I think when you get into that, LLMs and extensibilities in AI and the things you see in our vendors here are very much going to shift, right, that balance. And then now you see this kind of adding on that, what Scott Chasen talked about on the stage of this managed intelligence provider or managed, right? And you live in that world. This is your world. You live in the being better and more valuable for business outcomes. That's your world.
That's right.
And it's so cool to see us finally like at that stage where I think we'll get some of these things as table stakes and we'll start moving to where it really is helpful for the business. And Wendy Nather coined the term, those below the cybersecurity poverty line. Yeah. And I think we're seeing this poverty line shift. In fact, I'll say this first on your show. I haven't said it anywhere else, at least in public, but I've been talking to CISOs around the world, major CISOs like billion-dollar corporations, head of Sony worldwide, and said, listen, I want to put something by you that might be a little salacious. I believe the SMB, small to mid-sized business, and the MSP, managed service providers that support them, will surpass enterprise security capabilities in the next 5 years.
Wow.
Okay, let that ruminate.
Wow.
What are your thoughts on that?
Right. The first thought is how.
Yeah, right. Sure.
How does the guy with 1,000th budget surpass?
Here's why. If I start a company tomorrow, there's almost zero chance I have a server. I mean, almost zero.
Right.
If I'm a code producing entity, that's still true. I'm going to run ephemeral workloads, function services, platform services in AWS or Microsoft Azure. Yep. Right. I'm going to control them with infrastructure as code. Yep. But even if I'm that code consuming entity, the 40-ish% of our GDP that is mom and pops and the baker and the dentist and the doctor, those consumers, they're using SaaS, and they're using identity. Yep. They're using Microsoft, Okta, Ping, some identity provider, extending it out through SSO of SAML or OIDC or OAuth to sign in and out of applications seamlessly with their identity. Yeah. And now that's all API driven. And I'll reference you back to my point of someone will commoditize making one setup to control all of those things in a normalized way. And I like to use this as normalization of variables. I go from billions of outcome potentials to hundreds.
So, I love that you said that here. First, I love your thoughts, Matt. They're very provocative.
That's what I try to do.
We don't have so much time. Last question. You brought up identity.
Yes.
What are we going to do when we don't just have humans, we have agents?
NHID. I think you've been reading my playbook. Yeah, I mean, when you think about this, identity is this thing we've assigned to humans because you have a heartbeat. And we've often missed like service accounts. That's an identity. Yeah. Right? The next things, that's an identity. And so now we have this non-human identity. But now it's not just an account, it can think. Yeah. It can do things. It can make its own decisions in some way. That means it's getting more and more quasi-us without any of the controls, and it hallucinates. Like you wouldn't put a hallucinating person in charge of whether or not we say, yes, that's it, right? So it's a real interesting challenge that we face, but non-human identities are going to expand what we think of as identity, and I think it's for the good, right? I think it'll be a better way to describe this, and you're already hearing it come up a lot in the industry, in HID management. Yeah.
I love that. For folks that want to connect, follow you, that sort of thing, what's the best way to find you or follow you?
Yeah, follow the link you're going to put down here. See, I had to do that, man. I had to do it. No, I tease. Cyber Matt Lee is pretty much anything. You can search that just about anywhere. LinkedIn, X. I don't do much there, but mostly LinkedIn, YouTube.
Awesome.
And of course, at PAX 8.
At PAX 8.
Yeah, so.
We'll have to talk more. So much I want to ask. Thanks for being on MSP Mindset.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah, thank you.